Hi, I am Tyler Madden, and I am doing my documentary on wild pigs and the expansion in the United States. Early Spanish explorers probably were the first to introduce hogs in Texas over 300 years ago. As colonization increased, the hog numbers subsequently increased. They provided an important source of cured meat and lard for settlers. During the fight for Texas independence, as people fled for safety into the United States or Mexico, many hogs escaped or were released. It was not until the mid-1800s, when fighting between the United States and Mexico ended, that the settlers once again began bringing livestock back into Texas. The livestock included hogs that ranged freely. Many escaped, contributing to the feral population. A wild pig is the most prolific large mammal on the face of the earth. We have seen over 60 wild pigs on this trip alone. The average is between 5 and 6 pigs per litter. Sows have approximately 1.5 litters per year. Are more litters per year and larger litter sizes possible? Absolutely yes. However, I am using the long-term. Young females do not typically have their first litter until they are 13 plus months of age, even though they can become mature at 6 to 8 months of age or even earlier in some cases. Now we're going to talk about wild pig habitat. Wild pigs can live almost anywhere. They are highly adaptable. They can live in many different habitats. They can also tolerate a wide range of climates. Wild pigs can live as far away as a day's walk from water. Wild pigs are creatures of habit and will use the same bedding/resting areas and feeding areas as long as the food source remains available. However, they are capable of moving great distances to find food. Human disturbance/pressure will make them alter their patterns of movement. They do have some affinity to their home range, which can vary a few hundred acres to several thousand acres based on food availability and pressure. Wild pigs can simply lie down and sleep, usually on their sides. They will actually construct nests that they use for sleeping as well as farrowing. Some of these very simple depressions and others can be quite elaborate. Oftentimes they simply seek out thick underbrush for security or root into a brush pile or down tree top for security. Now I'm going to show you the tunnels and how they can disappear in a thick underbrush. Now follow me and I'll show you some tunnels. This morning, while we were looking for wild pigs and doing research, we came across a nice example of an animal bed. Now I'll go show you. That's a wild pig or deer bed that they use to keep warm and sleep in at night. You can see that the animal gathered all of the dead grasses around here and gathered them all up and put them in a circle, it's like an oval shape, and then now it can nestle down inside and almost be invisible to other animals. In these two photos, you will see two very well used pig trails leading into the canyon. Okay, now I'm going to take you to see what the wild pigs eat and what they do to eat. Okay, wild pigs are often opportunistic omnivores, meaning they feed on plant and animal matter in addition to being able to play the role of a scavenger. They are largely indiscriminate in feeding habits and eat both vertebrate and invertebrate animals. Approximately 85% to 90% of their diet is believed to be composed of vegetation, including crops when available, and 10% animal matter. Small pigs may eat approximately 5% of their body weight daily. Grown-up pigs can eat 3% of their body weight daily. Now I'm going to show you an example of how they eat. You can see here, they stick their nose in the ground and root up the ground looking for grubs and other plant material, bugs, roots, and in the fall, they like the acorns off of the acorn trees, which you can see there's a lot of. And when they fall, they root up all around the acorn trees, and they end up eating almost every acorn on the ground. As you can tell, this is a well-used pig trail. You can tell this because of the rub on the tree, all the dirt and mud, and also the scratches on the tree. Let's continue up here and I'll show you why it's a well-used trail. You can see it continues to here with more scratches and rub. And then eventually it will lead to a natural spring. As you can tell, this is a very well used water source with all the tracks. There's tracks right here. Then you can tell they've been in here because there's tracks all through here and up farther by the spring. You can see the water in there. And that is why it's a very well used trail. This is a close-up picture of the tree rubs from their bodies and tusks, as well as the spring. The last photo shows a water trough where pigs drink. Hi, I am here standing in a pig wallow. This is how pigs cool off in the heat of the sun. Pigs have no functioning sweat glands, and therefore they can be sensitive to high temperatures. During hot weather, they typically are associated with more cool, shady places with water sources, and tend to confine their movements at night when temperatures cool down. I don't agree that they are using mud as a sunscreen as much as they are using it to cool off in order to remain comfortable. The two maps will show you how fast pig populations have grown in the U.S. The first map is from 1988 and the second is 2009. The following video clips will expand on the population growth in Texas and the extreme damage pigs can do to pastures, crops, and fences.
Mainly in South Texas, along the coast, and in East Texas, but they're basically all across the state now.
Texas Department of Agriculture estimates that pigs produce $52 million a year in agricultural damage alone. Those estimates go way higher than that whenever we start talking about all of the damage that is incurred annually. The impact is very significant.
After a good rain, when it's nice and soft, they'll come out here and root it all up. These are pretty minor.
Hog hunters like Philip Koger have seen it all.
Once they do this, it turns the roots up and it doesn't grow back.
Helping prevent damage to pastures, crops, and fences is part of the appeal for Philip.
See where they've torn this fence up, coming through. Tear up your fence, then your cows get out, and then you got a whole nother situation.
But pursuing pigs isn't just damage control.
Stop them along here.
One of the increasing problems we have here in Mississippi as far as agricultural damage and forestry damage are wild hogs in our state. An awful lot in corn at all stages. From the time it's planted, they'll almost go right down the road just picking up the seed.
Feral hogs are an ecological train wreck. Feral hogs are competitors for native wildlife. They're nest predators for anything that lays an egg on the ground, and they're a significant source of mortality for sensitive species and endangered species.
Ossabaw Island is just over 25,000 acres, of which less than half is high ground. The wild pig removal program on Ossabaw Island uses trapping, hunting, and dogs to remove the wild pigs. We do 7 hunts each year. 5 of those are deer and hog hunts, and 2 of those are hog-only hunts. Combined with the hunts and the technicians we have out here removing hogs, we remove between 2,500 and 3,000 hogs annually.
The rooting is what really does a lot of damage. If we ride these four-wheelers over them, we'll have to go at a slow rate just to keep them from being thrown out. The pasture is just completely ruined. You cannot even run a bush hog over it. There's no more cutting hay out here until we completely disc it. And when we do that, we're going to have fresh ground, inviting them back in, and it'll take us probably 2 years to recoup this land.
We've seen the damage here on our place, particularly in areas where we planted young pine trees. We've had them go in and root up new plantation of pine. Then we go into the hardwood areas and the river bottoms, and we see the rooting there. And it's very obvious after 2-3 years that we're not having the regeneration and new growth of those desirable hardwoods that we so much like, for 2 reasons. Number one is they begin to sprout up. They're rooted up and killed by the hogs. Number 2, when that acorn hits the ground, the hog's probably going to be the first one there looking for it.
I hope you enjoyed my documentary. As you can see, wild pigs have been an extreme problem after they were brought to America. As a hunter, I wanted to learn more about the animals I hunt so I could better understand their movements. Since hogs are here to